Welcome back to another episode of The Road Chose Me. My name's Dean Grech, and on today's episode, the build of my Overland Jeep Gladiator continues. Here I am in Dad's shed. He's away for the day, so I'll have to do most of this one solo. And on today's task list, I'm going to install the backbone system from Rhino Rack, which is to install a roof rack. And so I've never run a roof rack on my Overland vehicles before, and I know it's a little bit controversial. I feel like there was a lot of sort of hoo-ha in the industry lately about how roof racks have a different load rating when you're off-road versus when you're on-road. And I think the real temptation is, unfortunately, just to put more stuff on the roof rack. Once we have more cargo space, inevitably people suggest I get a big cargo box and fill it full of stuff. I should buy a bunch of jerry cans, fill those and put them on the roof. I should put some water tanks up there, maybe even the spare wheel and tire up there. Suddenly I'm going to have 300 or 400 or 500 pounds on the roof. And let me tell you, I'm not doing any of that. None of those heavy things are going on my roof rack. But that being said, one of the fantastic things that I love about Rhino Rack's backbone system, and in fact why I've chosen it for my build, is because this has supports that go right through the roof and steel brackets bolt all the way down to the tub of the vehicle. So the weight of this roof rack and whatever you put on top of it, it isn't actually directly on the roof. It's much lower down on the body and all the way down into the frame of the vehicle. And I think that's fantastic from a strength point of view. And with what I'm going to put up there, I'm planning a couple of surfboards, I'm planning a solar panel and an awning. So less than 100 pounds, surely, probably more like 60 pounds all up. I definitely am not going to have any issues with the amount of weight that I'm carrying up top. So I'm really excited to get this installed. It does require drilling more holes in my brand new Jeep, but hopefully I'm kind of over that now and I can just dive in and make this one happen. So if you're interested to see how the installation goes and what it actually looks like when it's installed as just the feet on the hardtop versus the crossbars versus the actual Pioneer platform, I'll show you all of that in today's video. Stick around, let's get into it right now. So I've just opened up the box here for the first time, and already I can tell I'm going to really like installing this. Check it out. Part of the cardboard box is the instructions, and I assume somewhere in here is the template that I need to actually install this whole thing. So I really look at the quality of this packaging already. Look at how well everything is organized. Guess I'm going to sit down now for a minute and read these instructions. Unlike the snorkel, I've never actually installed one of these before. I have no idea what it involves or how complicated this process is. So I'll read the instructions here for a few minutes. I'll pull everything out of this box and then we'll get cracking. So I've just had a good read through the whole instructions and I think I've got the hang of this. They're spending a lot of their time making sure that you drill the holes not only in the right place, but to the right diameter. I guess the hardtop is actually 2 layers of fiberglass. I don't even know. I'll figure that out. But there's a few things in here that I really like. There's some funny pictures at the start, don't go through an automatic car wash, and it kind of has pictures of a roller and a car wash. But it's really clear here on the very first page. It says the system weight is 8.4 kilograms or 18.5 pounds. So I guess that's how much it actually weighs. And then it really says backbone system maximum carrying capacity 100 kilograms or 220 pounds. Then immediately it says 66 kilograms, 145 pounds when off-road. So straight away, and then it says check your owner's manual for the vehicle maximum carrying capacity, all of that kind of thing. And then it's got some torque settings for the bolts. So you can see it's really clear right away, while this thing can carry 220 pounds on road, it immediately goes down to 145 pounds off road. What's that? Almost half, just a little bit more than half of the capacity. So that's significant and something that you definitely need to be aware of when you're installing any roof rack. But it's really great that Rhino Rack have highlighted it so obviously. And then getting into the instructions, it is actually entirely in picture format. So it's all little diagrams showing you exactly what you need to do. And I'm going to work through it step by step and I'll show you every step. But my favorite picture, no doubt, is right at the back here It actually says, it has a little picture of a person, and it even has a zoom in of them taking the cap off a fizzy bottle. We can assume what kind of liquid is in that bottle. And it says, tss, and the guy's giving a little thumbs up. So it's like, when you're done, make sure you get yourself a cold drink. I like that. Although today it's a little chilly, I think maybe I'll get a hot drink when I'm done. But enough preamble, let's get into this. I'll start with step number 1 and bring you along for every step as I install the Rhino Rack backbone onto my Jeep Gladiator. So the first significant thing that I have to do is drill the holes for the rear mount. And Rhino Rack have given us a couple of different tools to help us make sure that we align it correctly. The first one is this little spacer. So by putting that there, I get the whole thing 6.5 millimeters off the bottom of the drip rail. And because of the way it's curved, I can't really move it or rotate it. So I know it's the right height right now. And they've also given us this little alignment tool. And the idea is you put it on the back corner of the line in the hardtop here, and then you push the bracket back, the Rhino Rack mount here, until it's hitting that little spacer. And so now I know everything is in exactly the right spot. And so when I drill these holes, they're gonna line up with the brackets that I'm putting on the inside to the tub. So I've been looking at this for a while because I wanna make sure I get these holes in the right spot, a bit like the snorkel, but I'm confident this is right. I've got a 6.5 millimeter drill bit in the drill, and Rhino Rack also give us this alignment tool that fits in really neatly with the bracket. So now when I start drilling, it's gonna force me to go at the right angle. I can't put the drill on strange angles. So here we go, drill into the brand new hardtop. Not surprisingly, pretty easy to drill through fiberglass. And before anything moves or shifts, I'll drill the front hole as well. There we go. Both holes now drilled. Oops. Now that both of those holes are drilled out, the next step is to enlarge them to 8.5 millimeter holes. So the holes are already there, so it should be easy to get them in the right spot. But something I want to think about is the angle of my drill. I don't want it to be off of where the last hole was. So I'm trying to have a good look, make sure I'm in the right spot, and I'll just go nice and easy on this. I don't think it's going to take much force. Now for some small modifications over on the workbench, my Jeep actually has these interior trim pieces that are velcroed on around the bottom of the hardtop and then up the sides. I don't know if this is a Rubicon trim thing or if all Gladiators have this, but it definitely cuts down on interior noise. But these are slightly in the way of the Rhino Rack backbone mounting system. So what I need to do is, this is the piece that goes across the bottom. I need to trill 100 millimeters off each end of it. And then I have this piece as well, which is the vertical version of the same thing. I think it goes that way actually. And I need to trim 50 millimeters off the top of this on both sides. So I'll do that now. All right, the next step now inside the Jeep is to install basically the feet that the whole system rests on. And this is what's going to transfer the weight from up there on those brackets I'm installing on the outside down through these two steel brackets and actually put it right on the top of the tub where the hardtop meets the tub of the Jeep. And I've just actually been trying to install this off camera, and it took me a while, but I figured out a little trick that'll help you if you install one of these. These black trim panels, the one that I just trimmed a little bit off of, they're quite contoured, they're three-dimensional, and so they sit out from the hardtop nearly an inch, quite a lot. And when it sits out from the hardtop like that, I couldn't get the bracket in the right spot no matter what I did. So I took this black guy out again, and down here in the very bottom corner, I really squashed it as flat as I possibly could. I took out all of that kind of contour, so now it's more like a flat thing that's just hard on the hardtop, and that means now this bracket does actually go in far enough. So now that I've said that on camera, I hope it actually works. And it's a little bit of a juggling act to get it in here. You have to kind of delicately get it behind the roll bar, above the tub, but also not be kind of like rubbing it along the top of the hardtop. And you can see I haven't got it in yet. It actually, there it goes, a little bit delicate. there, and now it's lining up, and I'm really happy to see it's lining up with the holes I drilled as well, which, I mean, using all of Rhino Rack's templates, that was pretty much a given, but still really nice to see. And so the whole thing is kind of a triangle, so that's the first bracket, and now the second one goes here, basically along the back wall of the hardtop of the Gladiator, and it kind of joins into that first one. And if I fandangle a little bit there, now I've got them both in. And again, it's all really tight and difficult to get it in the right spot because of those foam trim pieces. These are black, nice textured things. And I feel like if I took those out, it would fit really easily, but I like them. They're gonna reduce a little bit of road noise. So I might spend another 10 minutes and try and flatten out the other one as well, the long, thin vertical one, just to make certain that this bracket goes as far into the back corner as I can get it. Now that the inside is all prepared, it's time to actually install the backbone foot here on the outside of the hardtop. So I can take off all my tape, which was obviously overkill now that I look at it. To make sure the whole thing is watertight, Rhino Rack recommend putting some silicone around each one of these holes that I've drilled. So I don't want to go overboard, but just a good little spot of silicone, which the bracket is sure to squish down, and there's no chance that water will get in here. Now, one of the trickiest parts of the whole install, I have to try and get little washers on the inside of the bolts that I just put through from the outside. And I told you how tight everything is with this bracket because of that interior trim piece. There was just no way that I was going to get my fingers in there to get a washer. So what I've actually done is I just unbolted the Rhino Rack foot from the tub of the Jeep. So I undid those bolts I did up earlier, and now the whole bracket will move out of my way quite a lot. And hopefully I can get these washers up here without dropping them down and losing them somewhere inside the Jeep here. And I feel like there's a trick to this. Oh, I just dropped it. I feel like there's a trick to this where people put the washer on the end of something with, let me try and sticky tape this washer to this little 10mm crescent wrench that I've got. I don't know if this is gonna work because after I get it on, I don't know how easy it's gonna be to get the wrench and the sticky tape out of there. But let's see what happens. The washer's on, push the bolt through from the outside, pull the wrench and the sticky tape out. Success, the washer is where it needs to be. I'll do that again on the other one. I might have to do this one left-handed. Always a challenge for me. It's on, it nearly wanted to fall off. Fingers crossed I can wriggle the bracket a little bit and not have the washer jump off. There we go. 2 bolts, 2 washers. Great. So now it's a matter of getting the nuts on the inside and doing it up from the outside. That one's bitten down to the nylock, so it's not going to fall off. I might be able to reach with my bare fingers, just. So now what I'm going to do is snug down the 2 from the outside and snug down the tub bolts, kind of alternating until the whole thing like jimmies into place exactly where I want it. So those 2 are just a little bit snug. Now I should be able to get the tub bolts the same way. All right, that's this rear corner completely finished up. Now, while it's fresh in my memory, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, but I'll save you guys the time. So the install on the rear of the hardtop went really well, and I'm just getting ready to do the front now. And I'll give you a little behind the scenes here quickly. In Dad's shed, I'm struggling to get the lighting right. So I've gone out and bought a whole bunch of these big halogen lights, and they're pretty much always in my face. They're kind of blinding me. And you can see it's a pretty small space. The Gladiator takes up a lot of it. And so I've got all these cables here dangling all over the place. And I was just resetting, moving the lights around, and I was dragging one of those cables and it snagged on my tripod, and I just made my camera fall right over on the lens. And so here is my lens. This is my workhorse, my 2470 f4, and it snapped the bayonet clean off the back of the lens. So this stayed mounted to the camera and the rest of the lens came off. This is not light, and I guess all the weight was right on the end of the lens. So a bit of a boo-boo moment right there. It was a little bit like watching my Jeep roll over in Uganda, actually. You know, I could see it happening, but I was too far away to do anything about it. But, you know, thankfully it didn't hit the Jeep, it got pretty close. I'm obviously not injured, so, you know, big deal. I just went on the buy and sell here in Australia and I found a used version of this exact same lens. So it's a $600 mistake, so be it. And to everyone who's supporting me on Patreon, thank you very, very much. You guys just helped me buy a replacement lens. For now, I'll continue filming this with the GoPro, and I've got another lens here on my Sony camera, which will do the job. It's gonna be a little bit different, you'll notice. But yeah, it's one of those things, I guess, when you're filming YouTube and you're dangling cords and lights everywhere, have to watch out and make sure you don't knock your precious camera over. Now it's time to put on the front mounting foot, and to figure out exactly where it goes here on the hardtop, Rhino Rack have provided this little strap, which is really nifty. Basically, you bolt it into the foot at the back that you already know is in the right spot, and then wherever it lands at the front, then you use that to help mount the front foot. So I'm gonna do this up now on the back and the front foot and get ready to start drilling holes to mount the front one. To get the spacing correct off the drip rail, I used the same little spacer that Rhino Rack provided for the rear. Last time I used the side that says 6.5 millimeters, this time I used the side that says 11 millimeters. So I put it here in the drip rail, and the foot now is down hard against it, and so I know it's 11 millimeters off the drip rail, and when I pull tight against this strap, I now have the foot in exactly the right place, and I can drill these holes out confidently, knowing that it's in the right spot. I drill holes in the outer skin to 6 millimeters, then I enlarge them to 12.5, being careful just to drill through the outer skin of the hardtop. Then using the guide shim, I can drill the inner skin of the hardtop to 6 millimeter, and then using a depth stopper from Rhino Rack, drill the inner skin out to 12.5. With the holes drilled right through, now I just install the bracket above the roll bar, bolt it to the roll bar, then bolt the outer brackets through the Rhino Rack backbone foot all the way into that new bracket. And there we have it. The front foot is now on the passenger side of the Jeep. And the whole thing went really smoothly. There's a bit of messing around there, switching between a 6 mil and a 12.5 mil drill bit. They obviously really want you to drill the holes very square and obviously in the right place as well. And yeah, it's a little bit scary drilling holes in your hardtop, but when you use their template, when you use their little spacer, the holes just have to be in the right place. There's no other options, and it all bolted together really easily. So this is really great. The weight here of this foot is straight onto the roll bar. The weight of that foot is straight down onto where the hardtop meets the tub. So I feel really confident, you know, I'm putting some weight on this roof rack and knowing that it isn't just gonna crack the fiberglass of the roof or tear the roof right off or anything like that. These are really substantial, strong mounts. So it's time for me to do the other front foot, and then I can get on to actually mounting something fun on these feet. So again, this is gonna take me a while to do the other side, but I'll save you guys the time. So there it is, that's how to install the Rhino Rack backbone system onto a Jeep Gladiator, and it's identical for the Jeep Wrangler as well, given that the Gladiator is basically just a longer Wrangler. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. I think this is the best option for a roof rack on the market because of the way that it bolts through the hardtop and actually transfers the weight down into the roll cage and way down low on the tub. I think that's great, and I'm gonna be really confident that my roof rack is solid and strong. And so once I'd finished installing the backbone system, I did actually take it out of the garage, and Dad and I put the Pioneer platform on top, So this is Rhino Rack's platform that will mount on top of the backbone system. And we played around for a while. We made sure that it's all going to fit and it's exactly what I want, which it is. But actually, it's not going to stay on top of the Gladiator just yet. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is I need to mount something special onto that platform. That's coming up in the very next episode. And as well as that, with the platform on the roof, it only just fits inside Dad's garage. And when I say just, I mean less than 1/4 inch of clearance. Dad actually had me drive in last night and I didn't like it at all. I was not comfortable doing that. And so I don't want to do that on a repeated basis. So we took the platform off for now. And in the very next video, we're going to install a solar panel on top of it. And it's going to be much easier to do while the platform is off the Jeep instead of up on top of the roof. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you a good overview of the backbone system for the Gladiator, Rhino Rack's rack options. And I hope you learned something. I hope this is helpful. If it has been, please do hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out 2 videos a week now of the build of my Gladiator as I ramp up and get ready to head out and explore Australia. And I'm posting tons of behind the scenes content as well, early access to my videos, and I'm answering tons of questions that I don't feel comfortable putting out publicly on YouTube for millions of people to view. And so lots of information is going over on Patreon that's exclusively for my supporters there. And these people are helping to make this come true. They really are helping me to buy a new lens for my camera. And actually now, it's a couple of days later, I've actually discovered that my camera is broken as well. And so I just went on the local buy and sell and I bought a replacement camera. Again, thanks so much to people on Patreon. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. I wouldn't be able to document in the way that I am and bring you along, firstly on the build of the vehicle and then on the upcoming adventure. So if that's something that interests you, if you'd like to learn more, there is a link down in the description to my Patreon, and I'm The Road Chose Me over there on Patreon. So you can have a look. Support tiers start at just $5 a month to get you behind the scenes and with all of that extra information. So thanks again to all of those people over there. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and maybe I'll bump into you on the road.